from each media outlet or reporter. With that, I will get right into a bit of an update on the Mount Underwood wildfire, which is currently estimated
Recording in progress
at 3,603 hectares. So that was a bit of a change in size. That number decreased slightly when we got more accurate mapping due to visibility in the past couple of days. So today we have 160 personnel working on this incident, again, primarily focused on the north, the northwest, and the southwest flanks of this fire. They are working to extinguish remaining fire from the fire perimeter to the from 100 feet from the fire perimeter to ensure that this fire does not spread beyond the current perimeter as we get into this period of warmer and drier conditions. So we have received considerable rain since Thursday, and more rain is expected today. But going forward, we are expecting conditions to get a little bit warmer and a little bit drier and a bit windier as well. But despite that change in weather compared to what we've had over the weekend, we're not anticipating any growth on this fire. We are expecting, however, that it'll be more visible, especially in areas where the trees aren't as dense, where we will see more rapid drying and therefore more smoke emitted once we get once we have no more rain. So in the coming days, crews will continue to focus on securing the north, the west, and the southwest flanks to ensure no additional growth as we get into those warmer and drier conditions. We continue to support those crews with aircraft who are bucketing in hotspots as they do pop up, primarily in the northeast corner, as where we've seen the most heat that the helicopters have been bucketing in the past couple of days. Overall, due to the weather that we've received over the weekend, we're seeing very minimal fire behavior. So across the majority of this incident, we're seeing a little bit of smoke, primarily a smoldering ground fire. There's certainly heat in the ground, and that's what our crews are focusing on digging to expose that heat, and then using a water source, whether that be a helicopter or a hose, to extinguish the heat that's in the ground. That continues to be our focus. And certainly there are areas that are more challenging to access. So we also have crews working to establish access as to progress their work around these flanks that are less accessible. So we have a rappel crews building helipads in areas that will enable us to get our crews in once those areas of primary concern are once they've been worked to a point where we are confident that they are secure. So in the coming days, warmer and drier temperatures, but not expecting any significant growth on this incident. It will likely become more visible to the surrounding community, but that is just because we are going to see some of those fuels dry out and emit more smoke as the fire kind of makes its way to those areas. What that does allow us to do is identify sections of the fire that will be more active and could be a problem later on if we don't address them. So once we get the warmer temperatures and the drying conditions, as we see the smoke pop up, that'll show us where we need our crews to focus and where to position our crews to address those priority areas. So overall, operations continue to go really well on this incident. We have no growth since last Thursday and not expecting any further growth. I do just want to highlight that this incident is part of the Cameron complex, which does include the Wesley Ridge wildfire. These two incidents were both being managed by crews and an incident management team that were previously based in the Meadowood area near Parksville. However, we have now shifted our operations to be based out of Port Alberni. So residents of Port Alberni will see a number of crews now based out of here. That is not because the fire has increased in severity or intensity or is becoming more of a concern. It's simply because we are now shifting our focus more so to this incident as the Wesley Ridge fire is under control. So resources are positioned here just to be closer to the fire. And we've been working on this for the past couple of days to shift our base camp to be closer to the incident. But with that, I will conclude my update there, and I will pass it along to Mayor Minions for an update on behalf of the community.
Thank you so much for all of that information, Shari Minions, Mayor for the City of Port Alberni. No formal update from the city today, but on behalf of the city and regional district, I will let everyone know that we are working with BC Wildfire to determine if there will be an update, and we are anticipating updates to our evacuation alerts and orders. As soon as we have determination on exactly what those updates will be and the new maps that will come out, we will communicate that alongside BC Wildfire, and we're hoping for that soon. On behalf of the city and the ACRD, I want to just really extend our deepest thanks to everyone at BC Wildfire who has worked so hard through a very challenging situation. It's actually shocking to really think about the fact that we've only been in this for about a week. This fire grew very quickly and changed obviously very fast as well. And certainly are grateful for all of the resources that were put on this. I've been asked many times over the last week if I felt that this fire received the resources that it deserved. And it's such a nice feeling to be able to say, yes, this fire was prioritized by the province, by BC Wildfire, with an excellent amount of support services being put into it, and we're extremely grateful that our community has been protected. So just on behalf of the city and regional district, want to thank everyone who's worked hard on this fire through really challenging conditions, and we will update additionally as soon as we have more information. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Minions, for your update. Now I will ask BC Hydro, Ted Olnick, do you have an update to provide?
Ted, would you like to unmute yourself and turn on your video?
Yeah. It's not allowing me to turn on the video for some reason.
Let me see if I can do that from our end. Just give me a moment.
It says host stopped it, so.
Okay.
Oh, there
you go.
we go.
Yep.
Great, thanks. Thank you. I've been providing updates last little while to media, so it won't be a very full update. And we'll be sending out an update later on today based on information we have from the field. I'm hoping Nick Labadie, who's the senior manager in operations, will be able to join us on this call as well. But we made some great progress yesterday. We've got close to about 60 folks on site. That'll be vegetation crews and power line technicians doing the work out there. We'll be adding more crews tomorrow. We're not staggering the crews, but we want to make sure we have the right amount of crews and we're not tripping over each other when we're doing the work in the field. And hopefully we're going to be adding some more crews tomorrow. Things have been going well, but we're still looking at, around maybe 2 weeks or something like that, maybe a little bit less for restoration. We'll have a better idea later when we discuss where we're at with stuff. So it's challenging in some areas. We've had to have geotech in there to ensure we have stability where we're going to be putting poles, where the crews are working. We've had vegetation crews go in there to clear the area to make sure that there's no potential damage to the equipment we're adding, and it's safe for our crews to do the work. And we've had crews people coming from holidays wanting to help out. They live in the area, they want to help out, so they've come in from holidays to make things go a lot faster and restore power to the community. That's all I have right now.
Thank you so much, Ted, for your update. With that, I believe we will move on to questions, unless we have any other partners on the call that would like to provide an update. But I can pass it over to Rebecca to go through the chat and field those questions.
Thank you, Karley, and thank you so much to all of our speakers. We will now call on the media for questions in the order that they are placed in the chat. If you would like to ask a question, please put it in the chat along with the name of your outlet and who your question is addressed to. Our first comment in the chat is from Sky from Czech News. Sky, do you have a question? And if so, can you please unmute yourself, ask your question and who it's directed to?
I do. This is Sky Ryan from Czech News. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Sky.
This question is for BC Wildfire, and I'm just wondering if they could sort of elaborate on what the shift in conditions has really translated to on the ground in terms of what firefighters are experiencing. We've obviously been fortunate, I believe, that there hasn't been any significant injuries, but is it still a grueling effort on the ground? And what are some of the hazards that crews are facing?
Yeah, thank you so much, Sky, for that question. Yeah, certainly. We've seen a number of different weather patterns since we arrived on this incident last Monday. Initially, it was very warm, so certainly that adds additional complexities to our crews in terms of the safety considerations. As we moved into the weekend, then we saw rain, and on Friday we did have a considerable amount of rain. So a number of additional considerations with the shifting weather, both the heat, and then once we get the rain, things become more slippery, more treacherous, and already challenging terrain. So fortunately, I am happy to report that there have been no injuries or no serious injuries on this incident, especially given the conditions that they're working in. I was fortunate to spend some time with some crews the other day and was asking them a little bit about what it's like to work when we get this much rain. And they said, the response I got was, it certainly makes their job a little bit more challenging and morale can be down a little bit, but they're happy to continue to do that hard work, and they recognize the importance of being there and to support the community. And that's really ultimately what they're happy to be doing. So despite the rain, they're really out there doing the best job that they can, and they're working really hard for the communities. So fortunately, no injuries to report. Crews are working safely despite the conditions that they're working in. There are a number of things that we do to make sure our crews have all of the safety information and training that they need to work in the terrain across the province, as they do often work in different areas throughout the summer. So overall, things are going really well, but certainly with the steep slopes in this area, requires more hiking, more work to get that hose laid. But overall, crews are feeling really good, and they're really happy to be here, and they recognize the important work that they're doing.
One follow-up question, if I might. We're getting a lot of questions from viewers about how is the wildlife doing? Are they seeing wildlife out there? Has there been any saving by people that are on scene? It's obviously a big area and a very rugged one, so that would be wildlife territory.
Yeah, I have not heard any reports of any wildlife encounters. It's not uncommon for crews to encounter wildlife when working out in the bush. I saw a bear yesterday, so they are out there. But fortunately, when the fire is kind of exhibiting the fire behavior that we're seeing, animals are able to clear the area as the fire does move or as it picks up. So I've not been made aware of any interference from animals or any encounters or any unusual sightings of wildlife.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your question, Sky. It looks like our next question is from Joe from City News. Joe, same again, if you can please unmute yourself, ask your question and who it's directed to. Thank you.
Hi there. Thank you for taking my question. This question is directed to the fire information or for Mayor Minions. Currently, there's 2 evacuation orders, 3 evacuation alerts. Is there any timeline on when those could be lifted? And are you able to provide an update on just how many people have been evacuated?
Yeah, I can start with the fire behavior piece. So fortunately, with the rain and the fire behavior that we're seeing, we are in a position to be re-evaluating the status of those evacuation orders and alerts. And from our perspective, we make those recommendations to local government as it becomes as we are confident that that the risk to the community has reduced. So we are working directly with the ACRD currently, and as Mayor Minions mentioned, I think more information to come on that. Conversations are being had looking at where we're at, but from a fire perspective, certainly with the fire behavior that we're seeing, we are absolutely trending in the right direction to be able to reevaluate the orders and alerts from our perspective. And I will turn it over to Mayor Minions to add anything else from the ACRD.
Thank you so much. So we'll just echo the comments that we are actively working with BC Wildfire as they evaluate directions of the fire and everything else and the current risk. And we are hoping to provide an update later today on evacuation alerts and orders. We do anticipate some changes, but we just want to ensure that we have full mapping and predictions and recommendations in place before we comment on exactly what those changes will be. And in terms of the amount of homes that will have been evacuated, I'm going to pass it over to Daniel Cyan, our CAO at the ACRD, to give us an approximation on that. Daniel, if you're on.
I am on. Thank you, Mayor Minions. The bulk of the people that were evacuated were actually visitors to the area, and so they were visitors to the area. In terms of actual permanent residents, we were looking at about 50. And when we use the term permanent residents, there are people that are in recreational homes. In some cases, those homes are more permanent than recreational, so I'll use that term loosely. But yeah, about 50 regulars and the rest visitors. The number that we had is in the neighborhood of about 150 visitors that were moved away from camp areas.
Interruptions from your end?
So in terms of evacuees, the primary people that were evacuated were visitors and recreational users. We were looking at about 150 campers in different areas that were in the order zone that left the valley. And in terms of regular citizens in recreational homes, we were looking at about 50 individuals. I will flag that we use the term recreational a little bit loosely as we are going through this emergency. We have found that there's a number of people that were a little more permanently installed in the recreational homes, I'll say that. And so I want to give justice to that and say that it was their homes and they are looking forward to returning as soon as possible.
Thank you so much, everyone who answered my question. And yeah, no follow-up from my end.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you to our speakers. Our next question is from David at 93.3 The Peak, and the question is for BCWS. David, if you could unmute yourself and ask your question, please.
Yes, so what needs to happen for the fire to be declared under control?
Hi, David. Thanks so much for your question. On a fire like this that is in close proximity to community as opposed to a fire that may be quite remote, the objective here is to extinguish remaining hotspots up to 100 feet from the fire perimeter around the entire perimeter where it is safe to do so. So there are certain areas of this fire where it is just too steep or too rocky, but in all areas that our crews are able to access safely, we are working to extinguish all remaining heat from up to 100 feet of the fire perimeter, and then even further in areas that have greater potential. So our fire behavior analyst is assessing that, looking at the fuel types, looking at fire behavior, but our goal is our long-term objective is full containment of this incident in all areas where it is safe to do so, to avoid any potential challenges down the line, as we are still in August, and that we know that the days are getting longer and summer is kind of winding down. But if we get a warmer fall, we want to be able to leave this area confident that this fire is not going to pose any issues or risks to the community. So that is our long-term goal, is working the entire fire perimeter unless the area is very steep or too rocky.
Okay, and other than a Coulson helicopter, what local resources are involved?
There are a number of local resources. So in the from all the way from our overhead staff, our aircraft. So there are a number of aircraft carriers from the island. We also have the local unit crew out of Port Alberni who is actively working on this incident. And then again, our overhead staff is made up from a number of staff from both the Coastal Fire Center or other zones throughout the Coastal Fire Center.
But in terms of like right now, the woods are shut down. There's lots of loggers and contractors available for equipment and things like that. Any of those kind of local resources?
Yeah, that is a great point. We do have 19 pieces of heavy equipment also working on this incident, and those are that support is coming from local resources as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Karley, and thank you for your questions, David. Our next question is from Andy at CTV News. The question is for BCWS. Andy, if you could please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Oh, hi there. Thanks for taking my question. I'm just wondering, what is the road condition for the main road to Banfield, and is that hampering restoring power at all?
If it's okay, I will take I'll take that one to answer. The road was actually subject to a lot of discussion over the last few days. I can confirm that yesterday Ministry of Transportation did about 12 hours of grading to try and hit some of the rough spots. But there has been a lot of call-ins with regards to flat tires and some challenges getting through. So we do ask people that are choosing to visit or to leave that they drive slower than usual, that they take precautions, and that they plan for a much longer journey than the kilometers that would be indicated. Sometimes we look at our Google Maps and think that that's our test time. Much better to slow that down. And also just to be prepared, given the volume of calls for around flat tires. Make sure you do have a spare, make sure that you do have communications, and that you pack so that if you are stranded for a while, that you're not left thirsty or hungry, and so or too cold as the weather has been. So hopefully that helps address the issue.
Thanks, Daniel. Are you referring to the backup route through Yubo?
Yes, I am talking about the backup route through Yubo, because the other route going the Franklin River coming from Port to Banfield remains closed.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you very much for that. That's great information. I was just curious about the Franklin River Road, how badly damaged the road is, and if that's hampering restoring power.
Having Ted here from BC Hydro and Fire, perhaps they want to comment on that. I can answer if they prefer, but I think hearing it straight from them is probably best.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. I can touch on the road piece from our perspective, and then maybe ask Ted to comment more on the power restoration in that area. So there is a section of the road that is a no-go zone for us. There has been geotechnical assessments to determine that there is a section where the cliffs upslope of the road are very steep and unsafe for our crews to travel on. So we are using alternate routes, whether that is a rough road that was put in by our heavy equipment to allow our crews to access areas that we previously couldn't, or a rappel crew putting in a helipad to be able to transport crews via helicopter to areas that are currently unsafe to drive through. Preferably, we have a ground route available just because the area that we're working in is certainly prone to fog. So to have that backup egress route is critical for us from a safety perspective. But we are working a couple different ways to get access to areas that we cannot currently access through the Franklin River Road and the Banfield main line due to the critical safety hazard that is posing. And maybe Ted can add a little bit more about how their crews are working through those challenges as well.
Sure, thanks. Yeah, it's a challenge for us getting to the area, of course, because it's a no-go area. Our crews are working, have come in from the UBO and did that area into Banfield and working their way up the road. And we're trying to do as much as we can outside of that no-go zone, but until we have clearance, that's an area we're not able to restore at this point.
So will that no-go area need to be restored at some time? Is that a question for Ministry of Transportation? Like a time frame, that type of thing?
If in terms of that timeline, if you're referring to the Franklin River Road connection through, just for clarity, Andrew.
Yes, yeah, just wondering, just that no-go area, the Franklin River Road, will that have to be repaired? And then is that a question for Ministry of Transportation, and if there's a timeline on that?
So my best answer that I can provide right now is that it's an ongoing assessment, because the fire remains a priority in that core area. You know, different assessments are geotechnical, particularly, are challenging. Ministry of Transportation is not on right now, but I'll also flag that one of the key challenges with that road is the multitude of jurisdictions. It isn't a Ministry of Transportation right of way in its entirety. So there are some ministry interests, there's some forestry roads and private roads. And so it becomes a rather complex conversation when we're trying to figure that out. But I can say that our Emergency Operations Center is privy to helping coordinate and facilitate some of those conversations. So what I can say is that there is some conversation taking place as we do some long-term planning for what happens once the fire is out. But right now, fire is a priority, and so very limited information in terms of the condition of that main section of road.
I will just add, I've touched on the priority areas where our crews are working. We don't expect further impact to this road, but in situations like this, a top priority of ours is also preventing further impact to major transportation routes. So fortunately, we don't anticipate that that's the case in this situation. But if that were anticipated, then our crews would be responding to avoid further impact in the same way that we're working with BC Hydro on coordinating access and safety precautions for restoration of the transmission line. We also work with our other partners to support in ways that we can to expedite those priority restorations as well.
Thank you for your questions, Andy. And thank you to our speakers. That is all of the questions in the chat. I will hold some space to see if any other questions come into the chat. And if not, if you have any follow-up questions, please send them to the contact details I have provided in the chat. Seeing no further questions, I will turn this back over to Karley for closing comments. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Rebecca, for facilitating. I just want to thank you all for attending today and supporting us and getting our message out on behalf of myself and others involved in response to this incident. We appreciate your support and your assistance in providing that accurate and timely information. Going forward, we will see how the situation evolves and schedule another update accordingly. But I will leave it there for now, and enjoy the rest of your Tuesday afternoon.
Recording stopped.